Hello friends. Today we discuss about notion of corporate personality from company law. The question is define the notion of corporate personality and what are the advantages of incorporation. Let's see what is the notion of corporate personality. Notion of corporate personality tells us corporation as a separate legal entity which is distinct from its shareholders, directors and employees. This actually allows corporation to own its own property and enter into contracts, sue and be sued, and perform other legal acts in its own name. So this slide explains the important topics related to corporate personality. The first one is separate legal entity. As I mentioned in the first earlier slide, every corporation has its own legal entity, has its own rights and obligations. And the second one is limited liability. Shareholders liable for the company's debts. Personal assets of the shareholders are protected from company's creditors. And third one, perpetual succession. This means whenever a company ownership of the company changes, it does not affect the company's overall structure. The company continues to exist even after there is a change in the ownership or management. And fourth one is capacity to sue. Whenever a corporate personality is formed, a corporation is formed, the corporation can sue some other company or some other person. Similarly, it can be sued from some other company or sued by some other person. And ownership of the property is the fifth one here. Once the incorporation is formed, corporate is formed, it can own some properties. That means it can buy some lands, vehicles, whatever. Yeah. Now let's talk about advantages of incorporation. First one is access to capital. That means once an incorporation is formed, it can raise the capital by issuing its shares to the public, IPO example. And second one is transferability of shares. These shares can be transferred from one person to another person via stock exchange, demat account, all this stuff. And third one is professional management. A manager is responsible for day-to-day operations inside this. So anyway, when an incorporation is formed, obviously we have to hire some directors. So director or the manager are responsible for day-to-day activities in the company. And tax advantages, like in India, we have some tax advantages for incorporations, like lower tax rates. So this way, a company or incorporation can be help advantages beneficial for this company. And fifth one is credibility and prestige. So this actually makes more attractive to investors. So like when there is more number of investors interest in the company or corporation, there will be high capital, and that capital, using that capital, the incorporation can make some more profits. And the final one is continuity and stability. Uh, we have discussed about perpetual succession in earlier slides. So this actually helps us to gain more investors and profit. And the most important relevant case law for this topic is Solomon versus Solomon and Co. Limited. So this case talks about principle of separate legal entity, and the company is distinct from its shareholders. Thank you. Please subscribe Nyaya Vidya.